All praises to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And peace to everyone joining me on this program. This is the Fountain of Israel's Bible Studies program. And I'm back with you one more time. As always, it's an honor for me to stand before you on the Lord's holy Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom, one and all. I will be in transition. I'm resting today. Then starting tomorrow, I got a bunch of things that I have to do and get done, and then start packing up and heading out. So got to get those things done. Depends on how exhausted I'll be next week. Shalom, shalom, brother. Shalom, shalom, my bro. Depends on how exhausted I'm going to be. It'll depend if I do a Bible study next Shabbat. My goal is to do one. But I may just have to rest. It's just a lot, a lot going on right now, and I'm squeezing in time right now. A little bit tired, but that's okay. This day is about rest. So we're gonna go ahead and get in there. You guys know what this is all about, okay? This is a walk through the Bible. I like to take the simple approach. If you've been following the channel and the ministry for any length of time, then you know that we normally what we do is we do precept upon precept, okay? We do the precept upon precept. The brother was talking about the homesteading. The homesteading, if you go to Israelite Prepper channel right here on YouTube, I do more of the homesteading type stuff, and I'll be chronicling the journey and stuff like that. So right here on YouTube, go to Israelite Prepper, and that's when I deal with more with the homesteading and stuff like that. Right here, I just do lessons. Found in Israel, I just try to keep it to lessons. So, but you guys know, normally what we do, no problem at all, brother. What we do here is, and normally if you follow the channel, you go look back almost any lesson, okay, besides the walking through the Bible, it's precept upon precept. It's here a little, there a little, everywhere to get a whole view, a whole Bible view of a particular topic, right? But on this one, what I want to do is we go straight through, right? We can't miss any context or anything like that because we're reading straight through. But the difference with this one is that we'll read a chapter, right? We'll read a chapter in the scriptures, okay, the scriptures version. We'll read a chapter because we want to get some of the Hebrew language to get a deeper understanding. And then what we do is we'll go back to that chapter and we'll read out of the Strong's, so that out of the King James, so that we can get some of the Strong's definition of some of the words, right? So we want to get that going to get a complete understanding. We'll get back to the here little and stuff like that. Takes a little bit more research to put together lessons like that. And right now I'm just doing a lot of transitioning, so I want to keep it nice and simple for you guys. I appreciate you guys hanging in there. We'll get back to the other type of teaching. We'll get some Q&A and things like that in there. So I do appreciate you guys coming through and visiting and fellowshipping together. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put on my glasses real quick. And we are going to get into the scriptures. I hope everyone is having a wonderful and blessed Shabbat. Everyone resting up, learning, spending time with the Mishpachah or family. And let's learn what thus says the Most High. Okay, so this week we're going to start at chapter 13. We're going to start at chapter 13. And like I said, we're going to do the scriptures, and then we'll do the King James, so we can look into the Strongs and look at some definition of words. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started, guys, shall we? Chapter 13 in Genesis. And Abram went up from Mitzrayim into the south, he and his wife and all that he had, and Lot with him. And Abram was very rich in livestock, in silver and in gold. And he went on his journey from the south as far as Bethel, to the place where his tent had been at the beginning between Bethel and Ai, and to the place of the slaughter place which he had made there at the first. And there Abram called the name of Yahweh. Now Lot, who went with Abram, also had flocks and herds and tents. Now I think I did 13 before, so we might go to 14. Well, we'll just read through. Verse 6. And the land was not able to bear them, and they might dwell together, for their possessions were great, so that they could not dwell together. And there was strife between the herdsmen of Abram's livestock and herdsmen of Lot's livestock. And at the time, the Canaanites and the Perizzites dwelled in the land. Then Abram said to Lot, Let there be no strife between you and me, and between my herdsmen and your herdsmen, for we are brothers. Is not all the land before you? Please separate from me. If you take to the left, then I will go to the right. Or if you go to the right, I'll go to the left. Eli lifted his eyes and saw all the plain of Yarden, that it was well watered everywhere, before Yahweh destroyed Sodom and Amorah, like the garden of Yahweh, like the land of Mitzrayim, as you go toward Tesor. So Lot chose for himself all the plain of the Yarden, and Lot moved east. Thus they separated from each other. Abram dwelling in the land of Canaan, or it says Canaan, and Lot dwelling in the cities of the plains, and to pitch his tent as far as Sodom. But the men of Sodom were evil and sinned before Yahweh exceedingly. And after Lot had separated from him, Yahweh said to Abram, now lift up your eyes and look from the place where ye are, northward and southward and eastward and westward. For all of the land which ye see, I shall give to you and your seed forever. And I shall make your seed as the dust of the earth, so that if a man could count the dust of the earth, then your seed also could be counted. Arise, walk in the land through its length and its width, for I give it to you. So Abram moved his tent and went and dwelt by the tabernacle trees of Mamre, which are in Hebron, and built a slaughterhouse there to Yahweh. So I believe last week I had read 13, so we're just going to keep going, right? We're just going to go straight through, and I'm going to read chapter 14. And it came to be in the days of Amphrael, sovereign of Shinar, Arioch, sovereign of Eleazar, Kedorlaomer, sovereign of Eliam, and sovereign of Goyim, that they fought against Bera, sovereign of Sodom, Birsha, sovereign of Emorah, Shenob, sovereign of Admah, Shemebar, sovereign of Tesboyim, and sovereign of Bela, that is Tozar. All these joined together in the valley of Siddim, that is the Salt Sea. 12 years they served Kedorlaomer, and in the 13th year they rebelled. And in the 14th year of Kedorlaomer, and the sovereigns that were with them came and struck the Rephaim in Ashtaroth, Karnaim, and the Zuzim in Ham, and the Emites in Shawah, Quarthaim, and the Horites in the mountain of Seir, and far as El Paran, which is by the wilderness. And they turned back and came to En Mishpat, that is Kadesh, and struck all the country of the Amalekites, and also the Amorites who dwelled in Hatzon Tamar, and the sovereign of Sidon, and the sovereign of Amorah, and the sovereign of Admah, and the sovereign of Tesboyim, and the sovereign of Bela, that is Soar, went out and joined together in battle in the valley of Siddim against Kedorlaomer, sovereign of Elilam, and Tidal, sovereign of Goyim, and the Amphraim, sovereign of Shinar. Shinar and Arioch, sovereign of Elasar, 4 sovereigns against 5. And the valley of Siddim had many tar pits, and the sovereign of Sodom and Amorah fled and fell there, and the remainder fled in the mountains. And they took all the goods of Sodom and Amorah, and all their goods, and went away. And they took Lot, Abram's brother, son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and left. And one who had escaped came and informed Abram the Hebrew, for he dwelt by the tabernacle trees of Mamre, and the Amorite, brother of Eshcol, and brother of Anar. And they had a covenant with Abram. And when Abram heard that his brother was taken, which is really his nephew, his brother was taken, he armed his 318 trained servants who were born in his house, and went in pursuit as far as Dan. And he and his servants divided against them by night, and struck them, and pursued them as far as Habah, which is on the left of Damascus. So he brought back all the goods, and brought back his brothers and Lot his goods, as well as the women and the people. And after his return from the striking of Kedorlaomer and the sovereign who were with him, the sovereign of Sodom came out to meet him at the valley of Shawah, that is the sovereign's valley. And Melchizedek, sovereign of Shalom, brought out bread and wine. Now he was the priest of the Most High El. And he blessed him and said, Blessed be Abram of the Most High El, possessor of the heavens and earth, and blessed be the Most High El, who has delivered your enemies into your hand. And he gave him a tenth of all. And the sovereign of Sodom said to Abram, Give me the people and take the goods for yourself. But Abram said to the sovereign of Sodom, I have lifted my hand to Yahweh, the Most High El, the possessor of the heavens and earth, not to take a thread or a sandal strap or whatever is yours, lest ye should say, I have made Abram rich, except only that the young men have eaten and a portion of the men who went with me, Anar, Eshcol, and Mamre. Let them take their portion. Okay, so I just wanted to go ahead and recap last week. I started there, and we already broke that down, which is why we're not going to go backwards and break it down some more. We just went right through. Okay, so I'm just going to go to 15 now. After I read 15, we will break down and read it over in the King James and get some of the Strong's definitions of some of these words. Okay, so I'm going to do 15, and then we will double back and do it in the King James as well. That being said, 15 and verse 1. After these events, the words of Yahweh came to Abram in a vision, saying, Do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield. Your reward is exceedingly great. And Abram said, Master Yahweh, what would ye give me, seeing as I go childless, and the heir of my house is Eleazar of Damascus? And Abram said, See, ye have given me no seed, and see, one born in my house is my heir. And see, the word of Yahweh came to him, saying, This one is not your heir, but he who comes from your own body is your heir. And he brought him outside and said, Look now towards the heavens and count the stars, if you are able to count them. And he said to him, So are your seed. And he believed in Yahweh, and he reckoned it to him for righteousness. And he said to him, I am Yahweh, who brought ye out of Kashdim, to give you this land to inherit it. And he said, Master Yahweh, whereby do I know that I possess it? And he said to him, Bring me a 3-year-old heifer, and a 3-year-old female goat, and a 3-year-old ram, and a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. And he said, and he took all these to him, and cut them in the middle, and placed each half opposite the other. But he did not cut the birds. And the birds of prey came down on the carcasses, and Abram drove them away. And it came to be, when the sun was going down, and the deep sleep fell upon Abram, that sea of frightening look darkening fell upon him. And he said to Abram, Know for a certainty that your seed are the sojourners in the land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. But the nations whom they serve I am going to judge, and afterwards let them come out with great possessions. Now, as for you, you are to go to your fathers in peace. You are to be buried at a good old age. Then, in the 4th generation, they shall return here, for the crookedness of the Amorites is not yet complete. And it came to be, when the sun went down and it was dark, that see, a smoking oven and a burning torch passing between those pieces. On the same day Yahweh made a covenant with Abram, saying, I have given this land to your seed, from the river of Mizraim to the great river, the river Euphrates, with the Canaanite and the Kezanite and the Quadmanite and the Hittite and the Perizzite and the Rephaim and the Amorite and the Canaanite and the Girgashite and the Jebusite. Okay, so we have that in chapter 15. So we're going to go ahead and turn some things around a little bit and look at 15 from the King James, plucking out some words for definition and deeper meaning. So after these things, the words of the Lord came unto Abraham in a vision, saying, Fear not, Abram, I am thy shield and thy exceedingly great reward. And Abram said, Lord God, what wilt thou give me, seeing I go childless, and the steward of my house is this Eleazar of Damascus? And Abram said, Behold, to me thou hast given no seed, and lo, one born in my house is mine heir. And behold, the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, This shall not be thine heir, but he that comes forth out of thy own bowels shall be thine heir. And he brought him forth abroad and said, Look now toward heaven and tell the stars, and if thou art able to number them. And he said unto him, So shall thy seed be. And he believed in the Lord, and he counted it to him for righteousness. And he said unto him, I am the Lord that brought thee out of Ur of the Chaldees to give thee this land to inherit it. And he said, Lord God, whereby shall I know that I shall inherit it? And he said unto him, Take me a heifer of 3 years old, and a she goat of 3 years old, and a ram of 3 years old, and a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. And he took unto him all these, and divided them in the midst, and laid each piece one against another. But the birds divided he not. And when the fowls came down upon the carcasses, Abram drove them away. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, a horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he said unto Abram, Know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge. And afterwards shall they come out with great substance. Of course, he's prophesying over Egypt, as we know. And thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace, and thou shalt be buried in a good old age. For in the fourth generation they shall come hither again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. Okay, so they've got to complete it. Okay, there's really nothing here for us to dissect. There's nothing there for us to dissect there. And it came to pass that when the sun went down and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace and a burning lamp that passed between those pieces. And the same day the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, Unto thy seed have I given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates. And the Canaanites and the Kenizzites and the Canaanites and the Hittites and the Perizzites and the Rephaims and the Amorites and Canaanites and Girgashites and Jebusites. Okay, there's really nothing here, guys, for us to really get a Strong's definition for, because it's all pretty self-explanatory. So there's really nothing to go over. So if you guys don't mind, we're just going to go on over to 17, because there's nothing to dissect there. So we're going to go ahead and just keep going. Keep going. Chapter 16, guys. Genesis, starting at 1. And Sarai, Abram's wife, had borne him no child, and she had a Mistrian female servant whose name was Hagar. And Sarai said to Abram, See, Yahweh has kept me from bearing children. Please go into my female servant. It might be that I am built up by her. And Abram listened to the voice of Sarai. And Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her female servant, the Mitzrayim, and gave her to her husband, Abram, to be his wife. And Abram had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan. And he went in to Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes. So again, let me just pause. It wasn't about the polygyny, guys. It was the fact that Sarai, she was trying so hard for so long to conceive, and she couldn't. Whereas Hagar, she just conceived right away, real quick. Okay, so that's where the beef was. Okay, and Sarai said to Abram, My wrong is upon me. She basically like, well, I changed my mind. I gave you my female servant into your bosom, and when she saw that she had conceived, I was despised in her eyes. Let Yahweh judge between you and me. And Abram said to Sarai, See, your female servant is in your hand. Do to her what is good in your eyes. And Sarai treated her harshly, and she fled from her presence. Okay, so Sarai just upset. Okay, she couldn't conceive. Hagar conceived real easy, and stuff like that. So she just started treating her wrong. Not that treating her right was proper, because it wasn't, but I'm not going to condemn her. And the messenger of Yahweh found her by a spring of water in the wilderness, by the spring of the way of Shur. And he said, Hagar, Sarai's female servant, where have you come from, and where are you going? And she said, I am fleeing from the presence of Sarai, my mistress, because she was being treated harshly. Okay. And the messenger of Yahweh said unto her, Return to your mistress and humble yourself under her hand. And the messenger of Yahweh said to her, I am going to increase your seed greatly, too numerous to be counted. And the messenger of Yahweh said to her, See, you are conceiving and bearing a son, and shall call his name Ishmael, because Yahweh had heard your affliction. and he is to be. See, and this, what, I just read through the scriptures and I don't jump in or anything like that. But I'm gonna jump in this time. You get a lot of people and they're in situations, they're in marriages, in relationships and stuff like that. And a lot of them, they always try to reason unto themselves and they say, oh, well, the Lord didn't want me treated bad. And, he wants me to be happy and Lord wouldn't want me to just, sometimes we do go through something. Okay. Hagar was treated badly, treated harshly. Okay. And the messenger of the angel still said, you need to go back home. You need to go back home. Right there. So we're looking at a situation where someone is treated harshly. And don't get me wrong. Now, listen to me carefully. I'm not saying, yeah, it's cool. It's okay to be, treated bad. You should go look for a situation where you're treated harshly and bad. I'm not saying that. I'm saying if you find yourself and it's a tough situation, just because it's a tough situation, it doesn't always mean that the Most High want you to leave that situation. That's what I'm saying. Just because it's tough, sometimes you got to go through something to refine you, okay? Sometimes you got to go through the fire to get purified. Okay, sometimes that happens, but everyone thinks they trust only in their feelings and their emotions and not looking at the situation for what it really is and what you're supposed to be getting out of the situation. That's a lot of times we need to take our time to say, okay, so what am I supposed to be getting out of this situation? What am I to learn? We can't act on the height of our emotions. We're acting at the height of our emotions and then we're trying to make a decision. Okay, well, man, okay, this is tough. All right, I'm out of here. That kind of, no. You need to calm down, humble yourself, get your wits about you, and you petition the Most High and you try to figure out what is going on. You try to figure that out. Okay? Shalom, Kasim. Shalom. So that's what we have to do. We have to slow down and really think, and we have to pray and we have to petition the Lord and figure out, okay, all right, what do you want me to draw from this situation? Okay, what do you want me to get out of this? Not just, oh, it's rough. I guess I'm not supposed to be here. It's a rough situation. I gotta go. Okay, so we gotta slow down sometime. But the messenger, it says clearly she was treated harshly, and it says, okay, no, you need to go back. Okay, so let's just look at that. Okay, so I'm going to increase your seed greatly, too numerous to be counted. And the messenger said unto her, see, you are conceiving. Okay, Ishmael. Okay, 12. And he said he'll be a wild man. His hand will be against everyone, and every hand against him, and dwell over against all his brothers. Okay, so he's gonna be fighting with everyone. Okay, a lot of people believe that the Arabs, Arabian, Iran, Iraq, all these people are the sons of Ishmael, and there's a lot of fighting. And she called the name Yahweh, who spoke to her. You are the El who sees. And for she said, even here have I seen after him who sees me. That is why that's why the well was called Beer Lahai Roi. See, it is between Kadesh and Bered. And Hagar bore Abram a son, and Abram called the name of the son whom Hagar bore Yishmael. And Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bore Ishmael to Abram. Okay, so that's chapter 16. But again, so she left and then she came back not because she was Abraham's second wife, is because she bore a child where Sarai couldn't at the time. We know Sarah bears later and has Isaac. We already know that. Okay, so chapter 17. Really nothing to go back on that. Go to 17. Chapter 17. You guys with me so far? All right. So we have chapter 17 in the scriptures. And it came to be when Abram was 99 years old that Yahweh appeared to Abram and said to him, I am El Shaddai. Walk before me and be perfect. And I give my covenant between me and you and shall greatly increase you. And Abram fell on his face, and Elohim spoke with him, saying, as for me, look, my covenant is with you, and ye shall become a father of many nations. And no longer is your name called Abram, but your name shall be Abraham, because I shall make ye a father of many nations, and I shall make you exceedingly fruitful, and make nations of you, and sovereigns shall come from you. And I shall establish my covenant between me and you and your seed after you in their generations, and an everlasting covenant to be Elohim to you and your seed after you. And I shall give to you and your seed after you the land of your sojournings, all the land of Canaan, and an everlasting possession, and I shall be your Elohim. And Elohim said to Abraham, as for you, guard my covenant, you and your seed after you throughout their generations. This is my covenant which you guard between me and you and your seed after you. Every male child among you is to be circumcised, and you shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall become a sign of the covenant between me and you. And a son of 8 days is circumcised by you, every male child in your generation. He who is born in your house or brought with silver from any foreigner who is not of your seed. He who is born in your house and he who is brought with your silver has to be circumcised. So shall my covenant be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. And an uncircumcised male child who is not circumcised in his flesh of his foreskin, his life shall be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant. And Elohim said to Abraham, as for Sarai, your wife, do not call her name Sarai, for Sarah is her name. And I shall bless her and also give you a son by her. And I shall bless her, and she shall become nations, sovereigns of people are to be from her. And Abraham fell on his face and laughed and said in his heart, is a child born to a man who is 100 years old? Or is Sarah, who is 90 years old, to bear a child? And Abraham said to Elohim, oh, let Yishmael live before you. And Elohim said, no, Sarah, your wife is truly bearing a son to you, and ye shall call his name Ishak. And I shall establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him. And as for Ishmael, I have heard you. See, I shall bless him and shall make him fruitful and greatly increase him. He is to bring forth 12 princes, and I shall make him a great nation. But my covenant I established with Ishak, whom Sarah is to bear to you at this appointed time next year. And when he had ended speaking with him, Elohim went up from Abraham. And Abraham took Ishmael his son, and all those born in his house, and all those bought with silver, every male among the men of Abraham's house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskin the same day, as Elohim told him. And Abraham was 99 years old when he was circumcised in his flesh of his foreskin. And Ishmael, his son, was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. Abraham and his son Ishmael were circumcised that same day. And all the men of his house, born in the house, are brought with silver, and from a foreigner who circumcised with him, and who circumcised with him. Okay, so that's the end, and that's 18. So in 17, we do want to touch on just a couple of things. This whole idea, since we're talking about circumcision, we got people on both sides of the camp. We got people saying that we do still need to be circumcised. You got people saying, nope, it's no longer needed, because they go over to Paul's writing and stuff like that. Interesting, Paul was someone who was circumcised, and he was also, he had also circumcised Timothy. He said, and of course people can say, oh, because of the Jews and stuff like that. And then, but you got a problem. There's an issue. If he felt compelled to circumcise Timothy, and he didn't feel compelled to circumcise Titus, and then he said, well, you know, if you be circumcised, and I'm paraphrasing, guys, if you be circumcised, if you're circumcised, then don't become uncircumcised. If you're uncircumcised, don't become circumcised. Which one one of them you can't go the other way. So there must be a different meaning there. Okay, so once you're circumcised, you can't become uncircumcised. And then he says, well, if you're gonna be circumcised, then you know Christ will profit you nothing and all that, right? Okay, so we got to go and we got to get like a different meaning of it, right? So because that is a stark contradiction, right? If you believe that, then that means you just damned Timothy, talking about Paul, right? So at the same time, it's like he's just saying that circumcision alone is not going to save you. You know, it's not the whole kit and caboodle. Like for instance, if I get circumcised, then I ain't got to worry about nothing else. I ain't got to worry about no dietary law. I ain't got to worry about no feast days. I ain't got to worry about no Shabbats. I ain't got to worry about nothing. Boom, I'm getting to the kingdom. We all know that's not true. We all know that doesn't work like that. Okay, so that's what we have to understand that context when he's talking about circumcision, and we're talking strict circumcision. Okay, and he said that and that alone, just like when he talks about the law, like the law and the law alone. Just keep the law. That's it. You ain't got to worry about no Messiah. You ain't got to worry about nothing else. That's not gonna save you. It's not enough, right? Why? Well, because one, you're not going, you're not sacrificing animals right now on an altar. You're not going to the Levitical priesthood and the sacrifice of your prayers. That you might as well be Christian if you're talking about, oh well, the sacrifice of my lips, just to say I'm sorry and I'll repent. Then you might as well just be a Sunday Christian. Okay, just go ahead and just be a Sunday Christian. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. Okay. So we're messianic around here. Okay, we're not doing that. So those are kind of things you have to look at. So does one need to be circumcised? Yes. Should one be circumcised on the eighth day? Of course, according to Torah, yes. However, we just noticed Ishmael circumcised 13 years old, Abraham circumcised 99 years old. So my point is, you have time. Okay, I'm not saying be lackadaisical or anything like that. I'm just saying you have time. You can't say, "Oh, I wasn't circumcised on the eighth day, so never mind. I'm not gonna do it." You can see when people, everybody in the house, the age ranged. Okay, so when the Most High, when the Spirit, when the Ruach comes upon you and it says, "Okay, you need to be circumcised," you go get circumcised. You go get it done. Okay, so whenever that is, okay, if you're 8 days old and you're a parent, you need to circumcise your child, circumcise your child. If it's an adult teenager, 15, 16, you're 25, 35, 45, whatever, just go get it done. Okay? What I'm saying is that as long as you're breathing, is not too late. That's all I'm saying. Okay? I'm saying, do I think it's necessary? Yes, I do. Do I think someone who doesn't have all the now, they're doing what they can, because we got to get a little bit, we don't know the whole Bible all at once. Okay, but will someone who's not circumcised and they don't have the truth of it, they don't have the truth of it, meaning they are truly ignorant, they know no better, will they get in the kingdom? Yeah, sure, some, they'll learn the truth and they'll do what they do, because once your faith's supposed to manifest obedience, right? And we're supposed to be getting back to Torah, okay, as much as we can. Will we get it perfect? No, you're not going to get it perfect, because we're not sovereign unto ourselves, okay? We don't have the Messiah here, so we won't have all these debates and going back and forth. We won't have all that, okay? We didn't come to, undo the law, okay? We're not coming to change Torah or anything like that. That's not what we're here for. Okay, that's not what we're gonna do. So we have that, and we see we need to go ahead and go to 18. I'm not sure if there's anything in here that we need to unpack or look at as far as definitions in the Strongs. Let's see here, but and that was 17. We want to move towards 18 here in a second. Let's look at 17 here. Okay. I don't want to bore you guys too much, so I'm just going to draw ahead. You know what? I'm going to go through 17. We're going to look at some words. Okay, we're going to look at some definitions if we need to. Okay. In verse 2, it says, "And I will make my covenant between," so let's look at covenant, all right, which is 1285 in the Hebrew, barith, covenant, alliance, pledge between men, treaty, alliance, league, man to man, constitution, ordinance, okay, agreement or pledge, alliance, okay. So we have an idea. That's what a covenant is. That's over in verse 2. Let's look. Father of many nations. So we have that. Exceedingly fruitful. We have that. Many nations. King shall be out of you, or sovereign shall be out of you. We have that. Okay. Let's see. You know what? Let me go to the so I can look at what some of you guys are saying real quick. Okay, so we got, okay, let's see what we have. It says, "Thanks, brother, for this. My husband is an Israelite convert. We had this discussion a couple of days ago. He is circumcised in the spirit. Now he's planning to be circumcised in the flesh." Hallelujah. Hallelujah, Lasonia Kasim. Hallelujah, sister. Absolutely. I'm saying, you have time. So definitely, hey, bless him. Let him go ahead and do that and get that done. Absolutely. Let me go ahead and say hi to some of you guys. Shabbat Shalom, my bro. Shabbat Shalom, Caleb Henderson. Good morning. Good morning. Shabbat Shalom. Let's see here. Julio Gonzalez. Shabbat Shalom, brother. Shabbat Shalom. Coletta Blue. Shabbat Shalom. Esau's in Jacob's beginning. Shabbat Shalom, family. Shabbat Shalom. Hallelujah. Okay. Lasonia Kissam, Shabbat Shalom. And then Evan Davis. Shabbat Shalom. Awesome that you guys are there. And there's my brother Ronnie Rayner. Shabbat Shalom. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. I wanted to see what you guys were up to, seeing what you guys are doing there. Shabbat Shalom. So we're going to get back to the scriptures. Get that there. Let's get back into these scriptures. Okay. Let's see. Exceeding grateful. Come out of thee. And looking at verse 7 there for you guys. Establish my covenant everlasting. Okay. Have that seed. All right. Everlasting. 5769 in the Hebrew. Olam, long duration, antiquity, futurity, forever, ever, everlasting, evermore, perpetual, ancient. Okay, so you got continuous existence. Okay, so this is the covenant is continuous. That's why we're going to do this. If you are of Abraham's seed, if you are Abraham's stock, continuous. Okay, so you don't let Paul come in and stop that. Okay, too many people make Paul a villain and make him a false prophet, and they twist his words, as Peter says, that his words be twisted because they don't get his meaning. Okay, that's the problem with Paul, is that people twist what he's saying. I don't have an issue with Paul. Okay, I have an issue with people twisting his words and not getting a deeper meaning, which is also another thing, is that I tell people this. I want to understand the Bible. I want to do this. I'm like, you don't go to Paul first. You do not go to Paul's writings first. You don't go there. You go you go Torah, you go to the Tanakh, okay? You read all the old stuff first so you can understand what it is that he's referencing, so you can get the story, you can get the idea first. Then you read the Gospels. Then you read everybody else's letter besides Paul's. And then you go to Paul. Okay? Now, here's something that I do. Here's something that I do that you guys can do. The Bible says, out of the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, a fact established, right? Okay, so what you want to do is that if you see a particular doctrine or something, you got to have 2 or 3 witnesses on something. So if you go look at something John wrote, and you look at something that Jude or James or Peter or something wrote, you want to see if they agree, right? Or you can go into the Old Testament, you want to see if they agree, right? And you're going to get that. Then you can't look at Paul's writings, and then if you do look at Paul's writings and you think he's saying something, then you need to get 2 or 3 more witnesses different. Now, you don't compare Paul's letters to other Paul's letters, right? You need to see what the prophets say about it, what the other disciples say about it on the same topic, the same subject, right? I give you an example. It seems like it's a contradiction, right? So in James, he says, faith without works is dead, and Paul just saying that, you be saved without the works of the law, that type of thing. It's through faith without the works of the law and things like it. Seems like a big contradiction, right? So what you got to do is you got to take Paul's writings and you have to match it up with somebody else that's saying the exact same thing, 2 or 3, more if possible. Okay, but 2 or 3 that's saying the exact same thing, because it has to the scriptures has to harmonize. You can't have a bunch of contradictions. If there's a contradiction, it's something lacking with our understanding. Okay, that's what's going on. Something lacking with our understanding. You got to get some agreement. You got to get some harmony in the scriptures. Otherwise, you're just going to be confused and you don't know what to believe. Okay, so that's very, very important. That's very critical. All right, so if there's any other things, everlasting, generation. Okay, let's see what generation is. 1755 in the Hebrew is Doa. Okay, Doa. Period, generation, habitation, dwelling, period, age, generation. Let's see, it just keeps saying generation. Class of men, dwelling place, habitation, generation. Okay, in age or generation. Okay, so for a certain age, right? Some people say like generation is like 10 years, 20 years, something like that. Absolutely, yeah. Let's. So the sister was saying, let me go back over there. Uh, let's see if we got some more. She said, if you're still on the milk, you can't handle the meat of Paul. Paul is for the well studied and the knowledgeable. I absolutely agree. Paul is just too much for some people. They want to graduate and go straight to Paul's writings. And if you don't have a foundation, everybody don't understand. You messing with the roof and messing with the walls and stuff. You have no foundation. So everything's going to fall. Okay. If you try to argue from a Paul point, then you can be torn down with like everything else, with every other apostle, every other prophet. Everyone else can tear all it down because you're mishandling what Paul is saying. Okay. We know Paul, a Hebrew, you know, he's Israelite, you know, tribe of Benjamin, you know, a Pharisee. We understand, we know he understands the law very, very well. That's why to get on his level, you need to understand the law very well to understand what he's saying. Okay. Talking about the spirit of the law, and not just the letter. You know what I'm saying? We got to understand it deeper, but you're not going to get it if you try to run to Paul for reprieve. See, you know, I said before, when people want to get away with certain things, they'll run to Paul or something. And I say oftentimes, and I'm sorry, it's just, hey, you all went to Sunday church. Most of you all went to Sunday church, so you understand it as well. But a lot of times, a Sunday pastor, they will save you from the Bible. That's what they'll do. They will save you from the Bible. Sometimes they'll use a lot of the Paul's letters, and they'll save you from the Bible. Okay, but it's not my goal. My goal is to save you with the Bible. I want to save you with the Bible, your salvation. That's my whole goal. Study, walk with me, read with me. Let's walk through this thing. Let's do it together. Okay, we'll go through different resources. Okay, that's it. That's my problem. That's my problem with the Sunday preachers. They try to save you from it. You be like, well, I really think I should, repent. I really think I should be doing this. I really think I should be obeying God. Oh, sister, no, you ain't got to do that. You broke one law, you broke them all. Trying to use the Bible against you. You see what I'm saying? Going against your own conscience. That spirit that's within you, that ruach, that spirit that's within you, trying to go against all that. Try to go against all that. Same thing happened. I mean, it happened, with my Ashaya, where she's in church and she's feeling, remorseful and repenting on just different, different topics, different issues, and they do their own little, Bible study and stuff like that. And nothing but contradictions. Nothing but contradictions. Well, no, sister, don't worry about that. You ain't got the whatever. And this is someone who's trying to obey God. Okay? And it happened to so many people. It happened to me. Happened to trying to obey God. And they just take the Bible and be like, nah, you don't got to worry about it. Don't do it. Okay. So same thing, with Paul, like I said, they try to save you from the Bible, from what it clearly says. I'm trying to save you with the Bible. Let's continue to read. Okay. So we just did open this up, finish 17. I was looking through to see if there's anything that we can do. Circumcise, let's see here, which is 52:43 in the Hebrew. Namal, to circumcise, become clipped. Okay, be cut off. So you're cutting off the foreskin, okay, and then you're circumcised. It's a token of the covenant, perpetual, forever. Okay, perpetual. All right, and I don't really see anything else that we need to really get through. Okay, we see that. All right, so I think we have it all. So now we're gonna go to 18, brothers and sisters. And Yahweh appeared to him by the terebinth trees of Mamre while he was sitting in the tent door in the heat of the day. So he lifted up his eyes and looked and saw 3 men standing opposite him. And when he saw them, he ran from the tent door to meet them and bowed himself to the ground and said, Yahweh, if I have now found favor in your eyes, please do not pass your servant by. Please let a little water be brought and wash your feet and rest yourselves under the tree. And let me bring a piece of bread and refresh your hearts, and then go on. For this is why you have come to your servant. And they said, do as you have said. Now understand, look at this hospitality. That's another thing. We want to pick out certain things. Okay. Look at the hospitality that we are supposed to shove each other. Look at that. Look at the lesson I had, good old, hospitality. Look in the library. Okay, verse 6. So Abraham ran into the tent of Sarah and said, hurry, make ready 3 measures of fine flour, knead it, and bake cakes. And Abraham ran to the herd, took a tender and good calf, gave it to a young man, and he hurried to prepare it. And he took curds and milk and the calf which he had prepared and set it before them. And he stood by them under the tree as they ate. And they said unto him, where is Sarah your wife? And he said, she's in the tent. And he has said, I shall certainly return to you according to the time of your life, and see, Sarah your wife is to have a son. And Sarah was listening in the tent door, which was behind him. Now, Abraham, and it says, now Abraham and Sarah were old, well advanced in age, and Sarah was past the weight of women. So she, in our modern vernacular, she's already gone through menopause. Okay. 12. And Sarah laughed within herself, saying, after I have grown old, shall I have pleasure, my master being old too? And Yahweh said to Abraham, why did Sarah laugh, saying, shall I truly have a child since I am old? Is any matter too hard for Yahweh? At the appointed time, I am going to return to you according to the time of life, and Sarah is to have a son. But Sarah denied it, saying, I did not laugh, for she was afraid. And he said, no, but you did laugh. Okay, so she tried to take it back real quick. And the men rose up from there and looked toward Sodom, and Abraham went with them to send them away. And Yahweh said, shall I hide from Abraham what I am doing? Since Abraham is certainly going to become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. And I have known him, so that he commands his children and his household after him to guard the way of Yahweh, to do righteousness and right ruling, so that Yahweh brings to Abraham what he has spoken to him. And Yahweh said, because the outcry against Sodom and Amorah is great, and because their sin is very heavy. I'm going down now to see whether they have done altogether according to the outcry against it that has come to me. And if not, I know. So the men turned away from there and went toward Sodom, but Yahweh still stood before Abraham. And Abraham drew near and said, would you also destroy the righteous with the wrong? Suppose there be 50 righteous within the city. Would you also destroy the place and not spare it for the 50 righteous that were in it? Far be it from you to act in this way, to slay the righteous with the wrong, so that the righteous should be as the wrong. Far be it from you. Does the judge of all the earth not do right? And Yahweh said, if I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I shall spare all the place for their sake. And Abraham answered and said, look, please, I who am but dust and ashes, have taken it upon myself to speak to Yahweh. Suppose there be 5 less than the 50 righteous. Would you destroy all the city for lack of 5? And he said, if I find there 45, I do not destroy it. And he spoke to him yet again and said, suppose there be found 40. Abraham is bargaining. 40. And he said, I would not do it for the sake of 40. And he said, let not Yahweh be displeased, and let me speak. Suppose there be found 30. And he said, I would not do it if I find 30. Oh my God. Woo! Okay. He is bargaining, going down, 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 down. 31. And he said, look, please, I have taken it upon myself to speak to Yahweh. Suppose there be found 20. And he said, I would not destroy it for the sake of 20. And he said, let not Yahweh be displeased with me, and let me speak only this time. Suppose there be found 10. And he said, I would not destroy it for the sake of 10. And Yahweh went away as soon as he had ended speaking to Abraham. And Abraham returned to his place. Yeah, he was bargaining down, 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 down. Oh my goodness. So there's really nothing to unpack there. I would go to the Strongs guys for that, but I want to do 19. That way the next time when we come back, when we do, we'll start at chapter 20. But we're going to go ahead and go to 19. There's really not a whole lot to unpack there, because it's straightforward. Okay, not that it didn't say anything, but it's just straightforward. So we're just gonna go ahead and read 19 and finish up this particular lesson as we walk through. Okay, if there's anything you guys want me to go back over or define any words or anything, please put it in the comment, put it in the chat, and we'll go back through and we will define it. Okay, so let's go through 19 and then we'll try to go through it through the Strongs. And the two messengers came to Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gate of Sodom. And when Lot saw them, he rose up and met them, and he bowed himself with his face towards the ground. Again, we saw in the last chapter, Abraham, he saw the messengers of God, and he bowed, had hospitality, and had respect. Okay. And then we see Lot, same thing. Lot is pretty righteous. He bowed and had reverence and respect as well. And he said, look, please, my masters, please turn in to your servant's house and spend the night and wash your feet and rise early and go your way. And they said, no, but let us spend the night in the open square. And he urged them strongly, and they turned in to him and came into his house, and he made them a feast and baked unleavened bread, and they ate. Before they lay down, the men of the city, the men of Sodom, both old and young, all the people were from every part surrounded the house. And they called to Lot and said to him, where are the men that came to you tonight? Okay, so they just look like men. These messengers of God, but they look like men, right? Bring them out to us and let us know them. And we know what know means, okay? That is sex. But you have the alphabet group, they think, oh, they try to make it mean something else, but we know what that is. So Lot went out to them through the doorway and shut the door behind him and said, please, my brothers, do not do evil. Look, please, I have two daughters who have not known a man. Please let me bring them out to you and do to them as ye wish. Only do no deed to these men, because they have come under the shadow of my roof. But they said, stand back. And they said, this one came in to sojourn and should he always judge. Now we are going to treat you worse than them. So they pressed hard against the man Lot and came near to break down the door. But the men reached out their hands and pulled Lot into the house with them and shut the door. Then they struck the men who were at the doorway of the house with blindness, both small and great, and they worried themselves to find the door. And the men said to Lot, have you anyone else here, a son-in-law, and your sons and your daughters and whomever you have in the city, bring them out of this place. This is what they were saying. Okay, it's time to go. For we are going to destroy this place, because the cry against them has grown great before the face of Yahweh, and Yahweh has sent us to destroy it. And Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-law who had married his daughters and said, get up, get out of this place, for Yahweh is going to destroy the city. But to his sons-in-law, he seemed to be as one joking. They thought he was playing. Okay. And when morning dawned, the messengers urged Lot to hurry, saying, get up, take your wife and your two daughters who are here, lest ye be consumed in the punishment of the city. And while he loitered, the men took hold of his hand and his wife's hand and the hands of his two daughters, Yahweh having compassion on him, and they brought him out and set him outside the city. And it came to be, when he had brought them outside, that he said, escape for your life, and do not look behind you, nor stay anywhere in the plain. Escape to the mountains, lest you be consumed. And Lot said unto them, oh no, Yahweh, look, please, your servant has found favor in your eyes, and you have increased your loving commitment with you have shown me by saving my life. But I am humbled to escape to the mountains, lest calamity overtake me and I die. Look, please, this city is near enough to flee to, and it is small. Please, let me escape there. It is not a small matter, and let my life be saved. And he said unto him, look, I have favored you concerning this matter also, without overthrowing this city for which ye have spoken. Hurry, escape there, for I am not able to do any deed until you arrive there. So the name of the city was called Zoar. And the sun has risen upon the earth when Lot entered Zoar. And Yahweh rained sulfur and fire on Sodom and Amorah from Yahweh out of heavens. So he overthrew those cities and all the plain and all the inhabitants of the cities and what grew of the ground. But his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a post of salt. And Abraham arose early in the morning and went to the place where he had stood before Yahweh. And he looked toward Sodom and Amorah, and toward all the lands of the plains. And he looked and saw the smoke of the plain, which went up like a smoke of the furnace. Thus it came to be, when Elohim destroyed the cities of the plain, that Elohim remembered Abraham and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow. And he overthrew the cities in which Lot had dwelt. And Lot went up out of Zoar and dwelt in the mountains, and his two daughters were with him. And he was afraid to dwell in Zoar, and he and his two daughters dwelt in a cave. And the firstborn said to the younger, Our father is old, and there is no man on earth to come in to us, as is the way of the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine and lie with him, so that we preserve the seed of our father. So they made their father drink wine that night. And the firstborn went in and lay with her father, and he was not aware of it when she lay down or when she arose. And it came to be the next day that the firstborn said to the younger, See, I lay with my father last night. Let us make him drink wine tonight as well, and you go in and lie with him, so that we keep the seed of our father. So they made their father drink wine that night as well. And the younger arose and lay with him. And he was not aware of it when she lay down or when she arose. Thus both the daughters of Lot became pregnant by their father. And the firstborn bore a son and called his name Moab. And he is the father of the Moabites to this day. That's where Ruth comes from, okay? Ruth was a Moabite, and it comes out of Lot's line, okay? And the younger, she bore a son and became his name Ben-Ami. He is the father of the children of Ammon to this day. Okay, so let's just touch on a couple things real quick. Let's get in there. So now we're not out of context, because we read all context. All right, so first of all, we know that Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed, okay? And you're talking about, remember, we don't have... There's no internet, there's no television, there's no radios, there's none of this other stuff. So you're fleeing from a city, going to a small town, and hellfire and brimstone is raining down on the city, okay? Look like nuclear bombs going off and destroying everything all around you, okay? So the daughters think that everything is destroyed. They're young, and you know how young, could be teenagers. They just, they don't know. They think they know, but they don't know, right? They think, and like they said, her words, there's no man. There's no man around. There's nobody around here. Okay? So we're going to die out. Okay? We won't have the seed of our fathers. So let's go ahead and sleep with our fathers and have some babies. Okay? Because we live on through our seed, right? We live on through our seed. So they're trying to bring forth righteous seed. So a lot of people, they start flipping out. They're like, oh my God, they slept with their father and all that. Okay, no, that's not cool today. Okay, today, no, you cannot do that. That's incest. You can't do it. Not right, not cool. Okay, I want to say it, make it very clear that it is not cool, should not be done, okay? Very clear, okay? When you get into the law and get a Leviticus and all that, okay, clearly you don't sleep with someone that close next to kin. But Leviticus hadn't happened yet, okay? None of that has happened yet, okay? Let's keep that in mind. Hadn't happened yet. 1, 2, to them, from their perspective, everything is destroyed. From their perspective, nobody's around. From their perspective, okay? And you're talking about 2 young girls. From their perspective, okay? They just left the city. It was hustling, bustling. It was like Vegas. It was, everything. Everybody's having. It was a wicked city, so everybody's having a good time and all that. And they had to just flee with what they had on their backs, and just boom, and then the whole sky is lit up like a furnace, black smoke everywhere, lit up like a furnace, fire coming down, is destroyed, and now they're sitting there, they're like, man, what are we gonna do? Felt like the last people on earth. They see nobody else around, okay? That's why they wanted to preserve seed. It wasn't because, they were trying to be wicked, they were trying to do something, they wanted to get their father drunk, because they knew, hey, our father not gonna just do this straight up. He's just not going to do this. So let's go ahead and get him drunk and go from there. And some people say, well, Lot knew. Well, the scripture says Lot didn't know. So I'm going to go with what the scripture says. Lot didn't know. He didn't realize what's going on or whatever. How many times people do something crazy? Okay, you get drunk, go to a party, you get drunk. Not you, but someone. You get drunk, go to a party, do something. Next day, you don't even remember what happened, right? You have some of that, you know how they do out in the world. You wake up and you realize you done slept with someone, and you don't even remember it happening. You're like, whoa, we slept together? Oh, Oh, and then you got the whole walk of shame. So it's possible. It's possible. So that is what's going on with that today. So I'm not saying that's cool. It's great. It's just you have to get in their shoes. You have to just see what happened. It's not for us to judge what happened, just to understand what happened, why it happened, what's the motive behind it, right? It wasn't that they're trying to be wicked and all that. It's, no. Is it cool today? No, you cannot do that. Don't do it. Not cool. Okay? Not cool. I'm just saying. We understand why. The world just got destroyed. They're by themselves. They're not married. There are no other men around. They're like, hey, we need to preserve our seed. The same with Cain and Seth. They married this. Exactly. The same with Cain and Seth. Exactly. Married sisters. Exactly. That's exactly what happened. Okay. So that's all I'm saying. We just want to get a proper understanding. So we finished 19. I'm happy for that. Let's see if there's anything we need to pull out. I don't see anything that we need to pull out. Okay, struck them with blindness. They say, get out of there. I'm up in 14, 15. I'm looking right now. When the morning arose, the angels hastened Lot, saying, arise, get up out of there. Okay. While they lingered, the men took a hold on him. Get your wife, get up out of here. Okay, escape from the lie, took behind, da da da. In the mountains, unless you're going to be consumed. I'm in 19 and 18. Lot said unto them, oh, not so, my Lord. Behold, okay. All right, going, he said in verse 20, 19 and 20, he said, behold, now this city is near to flee unto, and it is a little one. Oh, let me escape thither. Is it not a little one? And my soul shall live. He said, let me just get to this little city right over here. And he said unto him, see, I've accepted thee concerning these things, so that I will not overthrow this city for which thou hast spoken. He said, okay, I'm going to leave that city alone, this little city over there, okay? Hasten thee. And remember, they're leaving out on foot, right? They're leaving out, so they can only get so far before the hellfire and brimstone is getting on Sodom and Gomorrah, right? Okay. So, hasty escape there. Okay, therefore the name of the city is called Zoar. The sun is risen upon the earth when Lot entered into Zoar. Let's see, 24. And the Lord rained upon Sodom and Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. 25. And he overthrew those cities and all the plains and all the inhabitants of the cities, that which grew upon the ground. But his wife looked back, and she became a pillar of salt. Abraham got up early in the morning to the place where he stood before the Lord, and he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah and toward all the land of the plain, and beheld, and lo, the smoke of the country went up as the smoke of a furnace. So Abraham's looking out. All he sees is smoke. Okay, smoke, burning embers, just smoke ascending up in heaven, in the sky. And it came to pass when God destroyed the cities of the plain, that God remembered Abraham and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities in which Lot dwelt. Okay, he did that. And Lot went up to Zoar and dwelled in the mountains, and his two daughters with him, for he feared to dwell in Zoar, and he dwelt in a cave, he and his two daughters. So he just went into a cave, right? Just went to a cave, him and his two daughters. All right, so they're there for a little bit. And the firstborn said unto the younger, our father is old, and there is not a man in the earth to come in unto us after the manner of all the earth. So there's no man around. We live in this cave now. We're going to die. Just nothing. Okay, nothing. Okay, and then we also got to understand too, that they, in the culture, the children, as their parents get old, the children took care of them. I mean, today we put people in old folk, in retirement homes and stuff. I hate saying old folks home, but we put them in retirement homes and things like that. But back then, you had children, you had many children, because they helped you when you got older. Okay, that's just how it was. That was family, right? So anyway, they're like, our father's old. We're just, we're two daughters. We have no kids. What are we gonna do? There's no man around. There's no man around. So what are we going to do? What are we going to do? How are we going to take care of ourselves? Okay. Then, of course, as we said, they firstborn went to their, said 32. He said, come let us and our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. So they want to preserve seed, children. And he made him drink wine that night. And the first one went in, lay with the father. And he perceived not when she had laid down, nor when she arose, so he didn't do it. The second one did it too, just skipping right down. right there. And thus, 36, thus were both the daughters of Lot with child by their father, and the firstborn bare a son, and called his name Moab. The same is the father of the Moabites unto this day. And the younger, she also bore a son, and called his name Benami, and the same is the father of the children of Ammon unto this day. Okay. So now we have a little bit of understanding there. We just got to get the context. Okay, on our next lesson, brothers and sisters, we will start at chapter 20. Okay, we will start at chapter 20. Like I said, I want these lessons to be about an hour. I went over about 5 minutes or so, but let me see if there's anything else, and we will close out. Let's see. Okay, anything. Okay, so look like we have it all. Look like that's all, guys. So I appreciate you guys joining me on this particular lesson as we walk through the Bible. I like to do this so we can have complete context. Okay, we're reading the entire chapter to get complete context. Now, before I go, please, guys, like, comment, share, subscribe, and please hit that notification bell because I don't want you to miss any of these lessons. Until next time, I want you guys to search the scriptures and prove all things. Shabbat Shalom.